for the IndyCar World Series. Today's stop, Toronto. From Exhibition Place on the shores of Lake Ontario, the 9th Toronto IndyCar Grand Prix. This year, 9th in a series of 16 races that lead to the IndyCar World Series Championship. Hello again, I'm Jim Lampley. Today working with former IndyCar and Formula One racing star Derek Daly. Derek, what's the heart of the story here?
I think the story so far has been Robbie Gordon, often known as Brash Gordon. Comes here with the reputation of having blinding speed, but lots of crashes. Now, he put one over the IndyCar fraternity yesterday by capturing his very first pole position of his career, beating out the likes of Nigel Mansell and the Penske Super Team. So we know he can win the battle, but is he strong and stable enough to win the war? That's what we'll have to wait and see.
How the 31 cars qualified. Robbie Gordon earned his first career pole with a new track record. Nigel Mansell still looks for his first win of the year. Row 2, all Penske. Al Unser Jr. looks for his 6th win in 9 starts this year. Emerson Fittipaldi, 2nd in points behind Unser Jr. Paul Tracy, defending Toronto champion, hometown favorite, 3rd Penske car. Michael Andretti, winner in 3 of his last 4 starts here. Row 4, Johansson of Sweden, Vassar of the United States. Row 5, Bobby Rahal, won the first IndyCar race here in '86. Mario Andretti's record 400th start in Arrivederci Mario his last year on the circuit. Row 6, Adrian Fernandez of Mexico, Teo Fabi of Italy. Row 7, Montermini of Italy, Gugelmin of Brazil. Row 8, Jacques Villeneuve of Canada, big favorite here. Dominic Dobson of the United States. Row 9, Raul Boesel of Brazil, Scott Goodyear of Canada. Row 10, Americans, Groff and Sharp. Row 11, Marco Greco, Brazil, Mark Smith of the USA. Row 12, Mimo Scatterella's first ever IndyCar start, Ari Luyendyk, former Indy 500 champ. Alessandro Zanpedri and Claude Bourbonnais of Canada, row 13. Willie T. Ribbs and Parker Johnstone of the United States, row 14. Row 15, Hiro Matsushita of Japan, and Ross Bentley of Canada, row 16, Jeff Wood. A last-minute change. Mark Smith changes cars, moves from row 11 all the way back to the back of the pack. And a look at the race analysis, 98 laps, just under 175 miles. Paul Tracy won it a year ago. They'll take their first pit stop sometime after the 22nd, before the 36th lap. A look at the course, Derek.
We have 11 turns here, squeezed into just under 1.8 miles. Now, it's proving very difficult this year because of so many surface changes. The key to success here is do not stray off the racing line or you could get into big trouble. Somebody who did get into big trouble yesterday was Brian Herta. A huge crash coming off the very demanding turn 11, hits the outside wall, and Brian Herta has suffered multiple pelvic fractures, fractures to his right leg, and an unspecified urological injury. We wish Brian Herta a speedy recovery.
We'll have 2 pit reporters today. Let's meet Brian Hammonds first.
Thank you very much, Jim Lampley. Nigel Mansell is a very confident man this weekend. So far this year, it's been very frustrating. No matter how hard he drives, he just can't seem to beat the Penske cars. Here at Toronto, he's been faster than Team Penske in every session. So Nigel feels today is his best bet to pick up his first win of the year. Now let's meet Jan Beekes.
Brian, Al Unser Jr. was asked if he had any advice for first-time pole sitter Robbie Gordon. Al's advice for Robbie, wait for me to go by, then stand on it. Jim?
All right, thanks a lot, Jan Beekes. They're coming to the end of the last pace wrap. We get ready for a green flag, and there's a lot of speculation about what Gordon and Mansell will do off the start, Derek, most suspecting that Nigel will lay back and let Robbie go.
I don't know if Mansell wants to do that. Remember, Gordon had the choice of the right side or left side of the grid. He has chosen the right side, which is the inside line, down to turn 1, because he knows all he has to do is equal Nigel Mansell's start, and he'll still get to the first apex first.
And here they come onto the front straight around this last left-hand turn, and then they will take the green flag, and the race will be underway, and we're starting with a yellow flag out, so the first lap is a caution lap.
Robbie Gordon has the choice of the speed to bring the cars down to the line. However, this lap will count, remember, but he didn't feel that Mansell was lined up, so we go around one more time under yellow.
And we'll take a replay look at that start to see the judgment which led to the yellow flag.
Gordon on the inside, but Mansell is too far behind, so we deem this an unfair start. We'll do it all over again.
So the first lap under the caution, and you can see the cars moving back and forth to warm their tires. There are the 3 Penske cars, Unser Jr., then Fittipaldi, then Tracy. And here is how dominant they've been on the IndyCar circuit this year. 1,016 total laps in 8 races coming into this weekend. And you can see that all but 94 laps have been led by Penske cars. And of course, headlining that, the tremendous dominance of Al Unser Jr., who has won 5 of the 8 races so far on the circuit.
And there was actually some controversy with some newspaper headlines here in Toronto this weekend when Robbie Gordon suggested there may be some cheating going on by the Penske team. Absolutely refuted by Roger Penske. I personally believe the Penske chassis is the best car in the class of the field. That's why they're so successful.
And now they'll come by the start-finish line and the flag tower for the second time. So we watch to see if they go green on this, the second lap. Gordon just ahead of Mansell again. This time they go green, and Robbie Gordon plunges into the first turn with the lead. Mansell in second place, the 3 Penske cars stringing out behind them, and then Michael Andretti.
And Paul Tracy got the jump on Al Unser Jr. under braking, down into the braking zone, but Robbie Gordon did exactly what he wanted to do and got that opening apex.
So there is Robbie Gordon, 25 years old, from Orange, California, coming off of an off-road racing background similar to that produced Rick Mears. And now the onboard camera in the car of Nigel Mansell in second place.
Heavy braking, second gear, infield corners. Mario Andretti, tremendous run by his mechanics after the warm-up this morning. They rebuilt his car, led by John Simmons, and he didn't even know whether he could take this start. Big crash.
You can see that 4 cars are involved here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them now. We go back to the lead and look at Robbie Gordon in front of Mansell. Michael Andretti has made a big first lap run to get into third place. Full course yellow now, and they'll sort out these 6 cars to determine which ones are capable of continuing in the race.
Well, they will have to move those cars very quickly because there is no way through for the leading cars. The yellow car was Zampedri. Scottarella is involved in it. 2 Italians there. Parker Johnstone can't go anywhere in the Acura car. Matsushita, the Japanese. Zampedri stops in sympathy, the 3rd Italian. So they're all there in a group.
And while this is going on, Al Unser Jr. has left the race course and gone into the pits. So an early adjustment for Unser Jr. in one of the 3 Penske cars. And there's a look at the Penske pit crew working with Al Jr. right now.
And one of the most spectacular starts was Michael Andretti, because he just rocketed all the way through from his lower than he liked starting position. Here's a replay of the incident. Zampedri comes down the inside of Scottarella, nowhere to go, clips the inside of him, goes onto the surface change, and now the traffic jam starts. Claude Bourbonnais sneaks around the outside. Parker Johnstone has to stop. Mark Smith crawls around the outside, but there was a traffic jam.
26-year-old Mimo Scottarella in his first ever IndyCar start. At the beginning of that incident, we go back to Brian Hammonds now in the pit. Brian.
It looks like the problem is terminal for Al Unser Jr. He reported he thought he had a fire on board early in the race. He was missing out. He came in, they were looking for electric problems. It is an engine problem. He's climbing out, and it's a tough day for the points leader.
Brian, Paul Tracy is also in the pits, as I understand it. You have any idea what's happened with Tracy?
I will check it out, Jim.
All right. So already we have yellow out on the entire track, the second yellow of the race. 2 Penske cars in the pits. Much going on in the first few laps of this Toronto IndyCar Grand Prix, and we'll be back right after these messages.
Automobiles in America for the past 11 years. Buy Goodyear, #1 in tires. Buy new Quicksilver wheel cleaner from Armor All. Just spray it on and hose it. And by Craftsman, a line of 1,600 hand tools, made in America, guaranteed forever, only at Sears.
We bring it back live to Exhibition Place, the Toronto IndyCar Grand Prix. Early Penske disaster. You saw the trouble for Al Unser Jr. And now let's go down to Brian Hammonds in the pits.
And Al just disgustedly said, man, this is really going to hurt the points. This is unlike a Penske problem. What happened?
Well, it's something in the engine. It just all of a sudden happened. You know, everything was okay with the Marlboro car this morning, and you know, it was all of a sudden, and it just went away. I don't know exactly what happened.
Tough break. Another race coming up.
Yeah, we definitely hurt the points, but you know, we're there, and you know, we're very competitive. So.
All right, now let's go to Jan Beekes.
Well, Brian, as Jim mentioned, Paul Tracy also found himself on pit road at the same time. It turned out that he made contact with another car with the right front wheel that had to replace a bolt that actually holds the steering arm itself. We could not see exactly how many laps he has lost, but certainly he's well off the front of the field.
Thank you very much, Jan Bikas. And our information for the moment is that Tracy is 1 lap down after 4 laps of this 98-lap race. And here's another look from inside Michael Andretti's car at the early action for Michael there.
This is turn 11. He takes the checkered flag. Now watch what he does here, because he is spectacular. He was 6th on the grid. Lines everything up here across the concrete with the surface change. Look at Tracy sideways in the Penske ahead of him. Let's just follow Michael's progress here. This is the braking zone.
I asked him if it was an EDE. I don't want it in EDE. Okay, thank you.
See here, still behind the 2 Penskes. There's Tracy. Looks like Tracy hit the wall on the right side.
And now we visit the car of Nigel Mansell as he chases leader Robbie Gordon. You saw the brief work by Michael Andretti under the green as he got around 2 Penske cars and moved himself into 3rd place in the standings behind Gordon, the leader, who is there in the middle of your screen, and Mansell in 2nd place. And now they're getting ready to go green again. All 4 laps so far under the yellow, only the 1 brief stretch of racing under the green. And now they go green again as Gordon goes back into turn 1 ahead of Mansell and Andretti, with Emerson Fittipaldi now in 4th place.
And Stefan Johansson in the 93 Penske is hanging on to this group here. But Gordon, who has been fastest in every single official session here, again controls this race. But having Nigel Mansell and Michael Andretti right behind you turns the pressure cooker up.
We're back in Michael Andretti's car. You look at his perspective from behind Nigel Mansell.
The fastest Reynard in the field here. Didn't get a fair run in qualifying, just couldn't get the balance he liked. Made more changes this morning. How hard did they try? With our pole sitter having set the pole, then went out and hit the wall. Mansell is running 2nd, has been in the wall twice this weekend already. In fact, he has a very heavy bruising on his left wrist as a legacy of one of those wall bangers.
Michael Andretti coming off of his year of Formula 1 racing, not a big success, but as a road racer in Indy cars, he has been spectacular, Derek, winning more than 33% of the road races in the 90s, despite the dominance of the competitive Penske cars.
Absolutely spectacular, and he understands track position. He also knows that Gordon is the fastest man on the racetrack at the moment, so he's got to be careful of his own tires.
All right, Robbie Gordon's still on the lead. Let's visit Jan Bikas in the pits.
You both mentioned that Nigel Mansell has hit the wall twice here this weekend. And remember last year, he hit the wall 3 times. Let's go back upstairs, guys.
It looks as though Emerson Fittipaldi has just been able to go by Michael Andretti.
Well, we just talked about Michael's bravery. He tried the outside move on Nigel Mansell under heavy braking, and he lost out on the tussle. Almost hit the tire barrier, and Emerson takes advantage and slides through.
A canny piece of work by Fittipaldi, spotting the momentary opportunity.
Mansell moves inside, blocks the line. Michael is too brave here because at this position, he can't turn in, and he runs out of road right here, kisses the tires, and there goes Emerson. As Emerson's left front just pokes his nose in, he gets an easy place.
So the change in the standings now. 7 laps completed out of 98. Robbie Gordon the leader, Nigel Mansell in 2nd place. Emerson Fittipaldi moves up to 3rd. Michael Andretti 4th. Stefan Johansson is in a secure 5th place and moving well.
And Mario Andretti follows him. Bobby Rahal is in the old spec Honda engine. But Robbie Gordon beginning to stretch his legs here because the fight is from Mansell all the way back.
And for the moment, Derek, there's no indication that what's happening on the track is any different than was the case in qualifying when, as you pointed out, Robbie Gordon was fastest in all 4 sessions.
All sessions and in control. And he actually came here to the racetrack this morning with 2 sets of tires that had only 2 laps on them. So he has preserved his tires, which is critical in the race. Good look at Stefan Johansson, embroiled in a huge tussle with Mario Andretti, who again didn't have a fair crack in qualifying because he blew his engine right before he went out to do his fastest laps. And of course then he had all that gearbox trouble this morning, but Michael Andretti closes again on Emerson.
There's the battle for third place behind Gordon and Mansell. Michael Andretti right on the rear wing of Emerson Fittipaldi. Fittipaldi in third place, looking ahead to later this afternoon when his Brazilian soccer team will be gunning for a World Cup, but all concentration right now on this piece of work as he tries to stay ahead of Andretti. Now we visit the onboard car with Michael Andretti as he looks at Nigel Mansell ahead of him, or Emerson Fittipaldi, I should say.
Concrete patches, they're so slippery. Long, long right-handers. This is third gear, fourth gear, fifth gear. Sequential gearbox down to second. There's the concrete patch. So slippery. Causes so many people to go off into the wall. And here's the blast through the most demanding corner all of racing. Turn 11 right here. Big bang. Look at his hands fight with that steering wheel as he tries to keep that car straight in an attempt to get the place from Emerson.
Turn 11 on this course. Doesn't look like much on the map, but because you take it flat out, you say, Derek, the highest testosterone turn in all of IndyCar racing. Fittipaldi there, still ahead of Michael Andretti.
It is every bit of that, Jim, and more. Look at Michael under brake. He closes it right up, but he's not quite close enough as he exits some of these corners.
So the leader remains Robbie Gordon after 9 of 98 laps in this IndyCar Grand Prix at Toronto. Nigel Mansell second, Fittipaldi third, Michael Andretti fourth, and we'll be back. As he chases Mario Andretti, this is the battle for 6th and 7th place. Well up ahead of them, Robbie Gordon has built a 3.5 second lead, a working margin early. Ray Hall battling with Mario Andretti here. And Robbie Gordon has spun out.
So Gordon falls foul again to over-enthusiasm, clips the wall, and just hands the race lead to Nigel Mansell. Critical mistake for Robbie Gordon.
This on the 12th of 98 laps, and with Gordon having already seemed to demonstrate that, just as was the case in qualifying, his car was the quickest. A look now.
Comes through turn 11, finishes another lap, heavy braking for the first corner. Look at this. Oh, flat left rear tire for Robbie Gordon. So unfair of us to suggest that he made a mistake. Robbie Gordon shreds that left rear tire and limps down the escape road. Derek Walker gets on the radio to his driver trying to understand how a possible win slipped away from Walker Racing.
Brian Ammons, what's the word from the Walker pit?
Well, as soon as Robbie slid off the race course, he was on the radio saying, push me, push me, push me. He wants to get back to the pits very badly. But unfortunately, when he gets back here, he's going to find himself almost out of contention of this race.
So your new leaderboard finds Nigel Mansell on top, Emerson Fittipaldi chasing him.
So Robbie Gordon, as you can see, did get back on the racetrack. He is now 1 lap down to Nigel Mansell, but he is trying to make his way back. And we saw this again yesterday in qualifying. I don't know how it happened here, but Robbie Gordon touched the wall yesterday, and exactly the same thing happened as we see here. It was the other tire, the right rear, but Gordon is helpless as he locks the brakes and sends the car down the escape road, and the debris that he has left on the racetrack has now brought out a full course yellow. Gordon can take advantage of that.
Bitter piece of racing luck. 25-year-old Robbie Gordon, never yet a winner in an IndyCar race. Second last year at Mid-Ohio, appeared to have his best possible chance of winning here this year. And after having sat on the pole and controlled the early stages of the race, the shredded rear left ends Robbie Gordon's chance at victory, at least for the moment.
So Robbie Gordon can do nothing except try and preserve that left rear suspension. Don't go too fast because you can break it. Get a new set of tires and get back into the fray. But I'm afraid his chances of success is 0. Brian Hammonds is down there.
And it'll be a 4-tire change, and they might as well fill him with fuel while he's in here. A dejected Robbie Gordon sitting in the cockpit. The work is now done. No evidence really that he touched the wall like he did yesterday, Derek. I believe the left rear just blew.
Well, then that is most unfortunate for Robbie Gordon, because that is the first piece of bad luck he has had here all weekend. Gordon has dominated every session, and now a puncture seems to have taken away a possible win.
Last year, IndyCar's World Series champion Nigel Mansell, the former Formula One champion, is winless so far this year. but now he leads in Toronto over another former World Formula One champion, Emerson Fittipaldi. We'll be back.
Drivers reach nearly 200 miles an hour and then slow down to 30 or 40 miles per hour in the slow sections of the track. The brakes are really what take a beating. So the crews replace these normally nice aerodynamic coverings with large brake ducts which are designed to route air to the braking systems for cooling. The air is directed through this duct to an area called the upright. The air is forced through that upright, through the actual brake disc itself, and then it's exhausted out the side of the wheel. Now, because the brake disc itself, the temperature that it runs at is so crucial, the teams will choose from different size ducts to get that temperature optimized. Now, everyone runs these ducts. The only time that you wouldn't is if it were raining, because then instead of an air duct, it turns out to be a rain duct. If you get water all over these brakes, the driver has a real hard time slowing the car down.
Back live to IndyCar racing in Toronto as you watch from the in-car camera of leader Nigel Mansell. We remind you, coming up next, NBC Sports presents the final round of the JAL Big Apple Classic presented by Golf Magazine. Current leader Beth Daniel with a 3-shot lead going into the 4th round against the LPGA's best golfers. Final round of the JAL Big Apple Classic presented by Golf Magazine coming up next right here on NBC Sports. And now we are back in the in-car camera of leader Nigel Mansell, last year's IndyCar World Series champion. Amazingly to some, Derek Daly, 4 of his 5 wins in IndyCars have been not on road courses where he was so dominant in Formula One, but rather on oval tracks.
And it was a surprise to me and probably to everybody else that he was so good on those oval tracks. I think it demonstrates that he understands car technique, but more than anything else, he learns racetracks very fast and he's very brave. It does not faze him to run at high speed right against the concrete walls. So normal drivers, let's say, that have to get used to oval tracks and concrete walls, doesn't apply to someone like a Nigel Mansell.
Quickly, let's go back to the pits and visit again with Brian Hammonds.
Carl Hogan is the co-owner of Rahal Hogan Racing. Bobby qualified with the updated version of a Honda, yet you switched to the old motor for the race. What was the reason?
Well, the original engine is sort of still a little bit in the experimental stage, so for reliability we went this engine. This is the engine we sort of raced at the beginning of the year and we felt it was reliable, so we went with that and trying to see if that won't hold out.
And you're testing a brand new Honda motor this coming week.
Yeah, this Wednesday we've got a new motor, which is an all-new motor, and we're anxious to get it because we don't know what to expect, but we're hoping for the best.
Good luck today.
Thank you very much.
Carl Hogan. Honda's really trying hard to do well in IndyCar racing. This will be their 3rd motor, and we're just past the halfway point of the season.
Derek?
I think they were surprised just how competitive and how difficult it is to produce horsepower enough to run at the front here. And these failures, let's say, might actually spur Honda on to get even more development much faster and give Rahal something decent.
They were able, Derek, to produce enough horsepower a few years back to win races in Formula One, but that was an entirely different engine.
When Honda make an official commitment, they do and have tended to dominate every series. That's what we expected here. If it follows true to form, they will be winners in IndyCar racing. Something unusual, however, about the IndyCar engine, it uses methanol as opposed to regular gasoline, which is what they've worked with for many years in the past.
A quick trip to our other pit reporter, Jan Bikas. Jan?
Jim, earlier we started to talk about Nigel Mansell and why he's hit the wall so many times here at Toronto. Well, his quote is that this track has a lot less grip than most of the drivers expect. But during the race, as the rubber gets laid down, it gets stickier and stickier as the race progresses. It's always been in practice that Mansell ends up in the wall. Obviously, this is the circumstances that he's been hoping for.
And we revisit the car of Nigel Mansell right now. The leader in the race with pole sitter Robbie Gordon having exited and dropped now to number 27, 1 lap down after the shredded rear tire.
And you get a good look here of Mansell's right front suspension. See the top bar? That's the steering tie rod. He broke that this morning when he clipped the wall on the inside. See the wishbone, the top wishbone? He broke that on the left-hand side when he hit the wall yesterday.
17 out of 98 laps completed, just a little bit short of 1/5 of the way into the race. We are anticipating a green flag as they come around this time. Leaderboard shows Nigel Mansell on top, Fittipaldi 2nd, Michael Andretti 3rd, Stefan Johansson 4th, Mario Andretti 5th, and Bobby Rahal 6th as they get ready to come past the front straight and go green.
And Nigel Mansell knows how to make green cars, pulls out a huge lead over Emerson, but look at Michael. He's all over the place going down the inside of Emerson. He pulls it off.
Michael Andretti has already had more passes here than any other racer, probably twice as many passes in the race as any other racer so far.
A renewed, confident Michael Andretti now being engineered by Mo Nunn, who engineered Ganassi's cars last year. Michael and Mo have a very good rapport almost immediately. Started working in Cleveland. Michael said he enjoys the rapport with Michael, and here's what happened in the first corner. Under braking, down the inside of Emerson, and the steering movement was when he turned onto the concrete, slips and slides, keeps her in control, and away he goes.
A race course that Michael Andretti absolutely loves as you ride in his car now. He's led the most laps ever here, 256 of them, 2 times in 1991 and 92, Derek. He led every lap of the race. Then he missed last year during his tour of duty in Formula One, so he comes back to a race course where he feels utterly dominant.
And look at that rear suspension, bounce up and down.
And now here's a look at
replay of an incident earlier with Robbie Gordon. You see him go down the inside of Mike Groff. We do get our pictures from CBC Canada, so we're not sure what that replay was to show us, but look at the traffic jam down the long back straight here, and we're under yellow for Jeff Wood.
Mark Smith out of the race, problem with the drivetrain. You saw Jeff Wood pulled to the side of the track. There on the long back straight, yellow caution flag out there. We haven't seen the yellow on the front straight, so it is not yet a full track yellow. Nigel Mansell with a lead now of 1.26 seconds over Michael Andretti. Emerson Fittipaldi chasing in third place with Stefan Johansson in fourth. And the significance of Johansson is that he is the 4th Penske chassis in the field, a 1993 Penske chassis purchased from Roger by his team for Johansson to drive.
That's right. This car last year was painted in Marlboro colors. It was used last by Paul Tracy to win at Laguna Seca as Ray Hall continues his tremendous chase of Mario Andretti, even if he is a couple of Honda horses shy of what Mario's Ford may produce.
Fittipaldi, then Johansson, and then Mario Andretti, and then Bobby Rahal. Here's another look at the same procession as they go by the disabled car on the backstretch.
Look at the line of cars here. There's Montermini, the Hollywood car of Gugelmin. Scott Goodyear is there. Bozell is there. Way back mired, Paul Tracy is there. That's Willie T. Ribbs and Claude Bourbonnais.
And now back to the front of the pack, and you look at the leader, Nigel Mansell, and there's his margin. 1.3 over Andretti, 3.6 over Fittipaldi, and they are bunching up once again with that yellow out on the back straight.
Oh, Michael is beginning to take the fight to Nigel Mansell here. Now, a problem the Lola cars have had, about 20 laps into the race, they seem to have problems with their rear tires. That's when other cars pounce. Those other cars in the past have been the Penske's, but Michael in the Reynard beginning to take the fight to Nigel Mansell.
Quick update on Emerson Fittipaldi with Brian Hammonds. Brian?
Emerson Fittipaldi is sliding backwards just a little bit because he feels he has pressure going down in one of the rear tires, but he is comfortable enough to ride it out until the first pit stops. They had the tires laid out here in the Penske pits anticipating a stop, but he feels comfortable enough with the pressure going down on one of the rear tires to ride it out for a while.
21 laps into the race, and we're anticipating pit stops sometime within the next 10 or 12 laps.
Brian Hammonds, he certainly was comfortable earlier on because Emerson at the moment has set the fastest lap of the race at a 59.85. Only 1/100th of a second quicker than this man here, Michael Andretti. But Michael is on the charge. He has not been in a position to challenge for the lead almost since Australia, the opening race, when he was dominant and managed to win.
Indeed, Andretti, after his year away in Formula One, made a triumphant return at the first race on the circuit this year in Australia when he won, out-dueling Nigel Mansell. Right now, we have the potential for a replay of that particular drama. Andretti has not won since that race. He's been frustrated and mystified, and he may get satisfaction today. Back live at the Toronto IndyCar Grand Prix. There's a look at your leader, Nigel Mansell, being chased by Michael Andretti. You see the margin. It is now down to less than half a second as Michael is dogging Mansell from behind, Derek Daly.
And this is a great fight. Nothing Michael likes more than make a run down the inside. He has a look again, the same move as he pulled off an Emerson. It'll be more difficult, though, with Mansell.
So much talent, Derek. Such a great road racer as he shows here. How could the Formula One experiment have failed?
Well, it affected him badly because it took a lot of confidence away. But I'll tell you what, look at the confidence. Who's back now as he sees Mansell break so late, misses the apex. Michael is putting pressure under Nigel Mansell.
Andretti dueling there with the only man ever to have won the Formula One World Championship and in the IndyCar World Series Championship back-to-back. That was Mansell in 92 and 93. Michael Andretti looking for the inside line and taking the lead away from Nigel Mansell there.
Loves to do it under braking. Slices down from a 5th gear kink, flat kink, and comes down the inside for the first time since Australia. Michael Andretti takes the lead in dominant style to the delight of everybody at Chip Ganassi Racing. But Mansell looks to be in trouble. He's got a puncture. Mansell's right rear is flat.
So Mansell goes the way of Robbie Gordon before him.
And he just passed the pit, so he has to go all the way around almost 2 full miles as that tire shreds itself on the back. Mansell is dropping way, way down the order, and that tire will leave the car any second.
And this could cost him any chance to challenge again for the lead, because when all this is over, Derek, he's going to be a lap down, isn't he?
He will be a lap down the way it is at the moment.
Unless he gets lucky and Andretti decides to pit for some reason. But that isn't likely.
No, Michael right now has the speed that if he can just control himself and stay between these very damaging concrete walls, he is in the driver's seat in no uncertain terms.
And the man who will move up to second place to chase Michael Andretti is Emerson Fittipaldi. Good news in terms of racing skill, because Fittipaldi is certainly one of the great drivers of his era, but his car hasn't had a great grip this week. You look at Mansell still struggling around the track on that rim.
I would love to get a look at the right rear rim of Nigel Mansell. We're now inside with him. See how slow he has to go. But if there was contact between Mansell and Michael, that could easily cause the puncture. We will hopefully get an update from the pits to see, is there damage on that right rear tire from Nigel Mansell that caused him to drop out of the lead.
And now you go into the pits with Nigel Mansell. And this is a look at the tire as it shredded on the car. And now as Mansell pulls into the pit, we go to Brian Hammonds.
And the right rear tire is completely shredded. Evidently, observers along the racetrack, corner workers, said that when Michael Andretti was right up Nigel Mansell's tail, there was some contact. That punctured the right rear tire. That caused this pit stop. He takes a full load of fuel, new tires, and Nigel Mansell is again away, but out of contention.
Now here's the pass. It's under heavy braking at turn 9. No contact here, obviously safely down the inside. Mansell knows the apex is already Michael's. They go onto the concrete patch, so the contact obviously was not there. Here it is from inside with Michael. Accelerates, sets him up through the kink right here, and takes a beeline for the apex. Says, thank you, Nigel. I'll use my muscle and my forward power, and I have the lead.
Well, Mansell drops all the way down to 22nd place for the moment after an 11.9 second pit stop, fuel and tires. And there's a look at Paul Tracy back out on the race course after having lost a lap early. Tracy not for the moment in contention, but still the object of affection of much of the crowd here. Native of town near Toronto and winner of the race a year ago.
And how good is Michael? How fast is he right now? He just set the fastest lap of the race on lap 28 at a 59.47. That is 0.3 of a second quicker than everybody else in the field.
And
Michael's
call it killer instinct, Derek, because with that fast lap, Michael Andretti has now opened up a nearly 11-second lead, commanding margin over second place Emerson Fittipaldi. The Toronto IndyCar Grand Prix will continue live on NBC Sports after this word and a message from your local stations. Back live in Toronto, and you ride in the race car of Bobby Rahal, currently in 5th place and chasing Mario Andretti for 4th place, two-time IndyCar World Series champion. Derek Daly.
And moments ago, Emerson Fittipaldi put Mansell a lap down. Look at the squeeze job here down into the apex. Mansell has to let him through. He's 1 lap down, but consider this. He's made his pit stop. He's full of fuel. Emerson still has to make his pit stop and take on fuel. So if there's a caution at the opportune time, as Scottarella finds himself in trouble, Mansell could make up most of that time he has now lost.
We are on the 33rd lap of the race for leaders Andretti and Fittipaldi and those who are chasing them. Most of the leaders not yet having elected to take a pit stop. And there's a look at Emerson Fittipaldi in second place.
And a tremendous run by Stefan Johansson, who now also wants to put Mansell a lap down. Tony Bettenhausen's Alumax car has been fast all weekend here, despite missing most of Friday morning session when they had a gear shifting problem. But Johansson jumped into a spare car. Within 4 laps, he was the 4th fastest car on the racetrack. He stayed in that spare car. That's the one he liked. That's the one he's using here to tremendous effect. Stefan Johansson, his best run of the year so far.
Stefan Johansson, the only Swedish race car driver in the field. There are 5 Canadians, including former Indianapolis 500 runner-up Scott Goodyear.
And here's a good look at the Delco telemetry given to us from Scott Goodyear's car. This is real time. You get a feel for the revs he uses, 12.9 on the short run down here to turn 9, turn 8. Watch the speed on the left. 60 miles an hour to the left-hander, but now it gets quicker. Watch the speed through turn 11, right here. 142 miles an hour at the apex, and then up to almost 160. Scott Goodyear, who has not enjoyed good handling this weekend, struggled mightily here in his hometown, and has a teammate also this weekend in Andrea Montermini.
Closest ever runner-up in the Indianapolis 500 back in 1992 when he lost to Al Unser Jr. in the closest race in Indy history. Then he went out and won at Michigan shortly after that to become the only Canadian ever to win an IndyCar race. Many believe that he will be eclipsed eventually by young talents like Paul Tracy and Jacques Villeneuve, who is here with a lot of anticipation and has not had that great a week of qualifying.
Just look at that right front suspension bounce up and down as they try to absorb the tremendous bumps here this weekend. Has caused a lot of trouble. Lack of grip is the main concern with drivers here. Look at that front suspension, look, bounce up and down as he goes over those high-speed bumps. But lack of grip is the biggest problem here, particularly on these white concrete patches.
Big Canadian incursion in the sport after Goodyear won in '92. Paul Tracy won 5 races last year and has won another one this year. Of course, Tracy has the advantage of racing for Roger Penske. Goodyear hasn't had a ride quite like that yet. And now Bobby Rahal and Mario Andretti in the battle for 4th place. Andretti still holding off Rahal for the moment. Rahal considered by many to be a little bit underpowered, but chasing Mario here.
And this is a tremendous battle. All race long, Rahal has been trying to squeeze past Mario Andretti, who is one of the most difficult people to pass because he knows how to position his car properly. But what a great effort by John Simmons, the crew chief on Mario's car, to unbolt the back end of the spare car, put it onto Mario's after the warm-up when he had that severe and serious gearbox trouble. Well done, boys.
Bobby Rahal, doubling in the roles of car owner and driver, has finished in the points in 4 of the past 5 races. A good look at Mario from behind.
Let's listen. See him play with the throttle. This is where Michael made the pass earlier. Not close enough. And that's Johansson just up the road, so Rahal is well in contention here to be on the podium. And he hasn't been in that position many times this year.
Nor, for that matter, has Mario Andretti. This is the largest single-day sports event in Canada with a crowd of 66,000 plus a year ago and perhaps even more here today. Many of them hoping against hope that Mario, in his 400th IndyCar start, could somehow produce a sentimental miracle and threaten to win the race here. But well out in front for the moment is his son, Michael Andretti, with a near 13-second lead over Emerson Fittipaldi. And there's Emerson in second place. You see the distance from which he chases Michael now.
And Emerson still trying to get the handling of this Penske into an ideal window that he likes. You can see he started 4th, now running 2nd, because of attrition from other people as opposed to sheer speed from his car.
3 times the pole sitter here, won the race in 1987. Emerson Fittipaldi in second place, but well back of Michael Andretti. Let's go to pit reporter Jan Vikas.
Well, Michael Andretti's team had just rolled out to do a pit stop, but they've decided to wait one more lap. We checked with Mike Hull, the team manager of Ganassi Racing, and he said, not surprisingly, no changes for Michael Andretti during this stop.
Fittipaldi moving past slower traffic. At this moment, Derek Daly, you suspect that Emerson says to himself, I don't have the speed to contend with Michael today. I'll bide my time and hope the race plays into my hands.
And Emerson is thinking about his teammate, Al Unser Jr. He leads the championship. Right now, he's back in his motorhome, cannot score points. So if Emerson cannot win, he sure as hell can get second place, and a big chunk of championship points bring him closer to Al Unser Jr. Emerson understands how to win championships.
Yep, and this will close up the points race dramatically, Derek. Al came in here with a 41-point lead over Emerson Fittipaldi. If Emo could win the race, he would slice that lead to 21.
That is what he is thinking about. And let Michael run on ahead, because Michael has not been a championship contender because they completely lost their way after that dominating performance earlier this year in Australia.
Stefan Johansson has chosen to go into the pits, so he, for the moment, surrenders his place in the top 5. Most of the other leaders not yet having pitted, despite the fact that we are all the way to lap 38. Now we follow in Michael Andretti's car to see when he's going to choose to go into the pits.
Great to see it. Look at the number on his steering wheel, 37.9. So when his fuel digital readout's 37.9, he goes straight to the pit lane, and our Jan Vikas is down there.
Here comes Michael Andretti. He is pitted on a part. Oh, yes, he locks it up just a little because he is pitted where the pit road actually curves. He's trying to get the bottle. Yes, he has now gotten the drink bottle. He's reset his fuel. Right now, all the tires, one more tire to go. Yes, all the tires are changed. They're just waiting for fuel. He's off the jack. Underway in 15.4 seconds for Michael.
And he smokes those rear tires as he drops the clutch, gets back into contention. The number one thing you want is consistency from your 6th man over the pit wall to just allow you to keep your lead and keep you in contention.
The leader for the moment now, Bobby Rahal, who has not yet pitted. Likewise, Adrian Fernandez, who moves up to second place behind Rahal. Another, Andrea Montermini, has not yet pitted. He is up to number 5 now in the race. Michael and Mario holding on to their positions at 3 and 4 despite the pit stops.
And pictures again of Robbie Gordon, who is back on the racetrack but way out of contention because of that terrible loss of time earlier. But Robbie Gordon is back out there. Here's Rahal, our leader.
And you anticipate that we may be going into the pits with Rahal this time around. This is lap number 40. Very late for Bobby Rahal to be taking this very first pit stop of the race.
It is late. The Honda obviously has very good fuel economy. That could play a role here, but the yellow flags earlier has actually helped Michael Andretti, because when you run the Ford engines flat out for this whole race, it's very doubtful whether you could make it all the way with the fuel allotment that's available.
Almost certainly a brief tour of duty on the lead as you look at Scott Goodyear, but this is the first time Rahal has led an IndyCar race since Vancouver at the end of the 1993 season. There's Fernandez in the green and red car. He's the man who is for the moment in second place behind Rahal. Both of them elect to go around one more time as we stay with Goodyear.
And Adrian Fernandez could lead this race if Bobby Rahal elects to pit on this lap and Fernandez stays out. I can't imagine Fernandez taking the risk of going too far on the fuel load. We're watching for Rahal to see, does he peel off after turn 9 here? And does he go to pit lane? He is in pit lane. Rahal, our leader, peels off down to pit lane.
Let's go to Brian Hammonds in the pits.
Well, Emerson Fittipaldi pitted just when Michael Andretti did just a little bit earlier. Remember, he was nursing a pretty sick race car. Let's go now to Jan Vikas.
Bobby Rahal is in, and they are in the process of changing the tires. He radioed in that he wanted some tire pressure changes, but everything going as planned. Oh, they did not wait for 11.9. The reason that pit stop was quicker, they said, as soon as we get those tires changed, you're out of here. We don't need all the fuel.
Bobby Rahal, one of the great in-race thinkers of his time. trying to manage his way now to an upset victory here in Toronto, but he has surrendered the lead to that man, Michael Andretti. So it's Michael back on the lead as NBC Sports brings you the Toronto IndyCar Grand Prix from the shores of Lake Ontario. We'll be back. World Championship of Basketball will be here in Toronto. We bring you back live to Toronto, where for a moment you were in the car of Bobby Rahal. Now you see Rahal chasing Emerson Fittipaldi from behind. Fittipaldi has moved back into second place. Rahal is third, both of them behind leader Michael Andretti, as we are 43 laps into this 98-lap race, almost to the halfway mark.
And you can see clearly here, Rahal is about to give Emerson a king-size headache, because you saw him look in his mirrors. He sees Rahal is closing. Rahal, who believes he has probably one of the best handling Lola cars here. They were 7 miles an hour slower down the straight in qualifying because of the lack of horsepower, but they believe they have a very good handling car. That's what he's using to close in on Emerson.
For an update on Fittipaldi, let's go to Brian Hammonds.
Well, don't look for Emo to make any bonsai moves on Michael Andretti. He radioed in and said, I'm not going to do anything stupid because there's just too many points to pick up. He lets Bobby Rahal go by. Just too many points to pick up on Alonso Jr. just by finishing pretty far up in the order.
And while you were saying that, Brian, Bobby Rahal moved past Fittipaldi on our screen, and right now you see that Jimmy Vasser of the United States, number 18, has spun out and hit the wall, so the caution will come out again.
So Jimmy Vasser loses it under braking, locks up those rear brakes, has a harmless spin, didn't actually make contact with that outside wall, but he stalls the engine. And if they can't push him out of there very quickly, he's right in the line of path under heavy braking. They may have to go yellow.
What about the Rahal pass on Fittipaldi, Derek?
Good pass, under braking, car handles well, and as Brian said earlier, Emerson was not going to challenge any banzai move by Rahal. But look how strong Rahal is running here, benefiting, I think, from working with his new engineer, Tim Reiter, who's from Wisconsin, the new engineer for Bobby Rahal. Here's the pass again. Down the inside. As soon as you get alongside, Emerson turns in, and then he turns back out and says, I don't want to fight. Away you go. Here he is from on board. Almost as if Rahal said, I'm going to get to the apex first. And that was it. Gets onto the concrete patch. What a surprise Rahal is in this race.
Given the perception that Rahal might be a little bit underpowered, do you think that Michael Andretti will feel considerably more secure with Rahal ahead of Fittipaldi in second place?
And believe me, Michael will know that Rahal is behind him, even though he can't see him, because his pit crew will tell him. I think Michael would be surprised and maybe relaxed that it's a Rahal.
Let's get an update from Jan Binkus.
Well, speaking of Emerson Fittipaldi and him dropping back slightly there with Rahal, he has since radioed in and said at the next pit stop he wants more left front wing. We would suspect that means he's picking up some push out there.
And there you see the leader, Michael Andretti, going past slower Scott Goodyear on the inside. Andretti, for the moment, with a 17.5-second lead over Bobby Rahal as he picks his way through slower traffic.
In control. Michael is a master of street circuit dominance. We saw him bounce this Reynard off everything in sight in Australia. And unbelievably, this Reynard withstood the punishment because he hit walls, he hit cars, curbs, and finally he hit the tire barrier and still managed to bring the car home in first place.
48 road races on the IndyCar circuit so far in the 90s, despite having taken a whole year off last year to race Formula One. Michael Andretti has won 17 of those races. Throw together the 10 that Al Unser has won, and between the two, Unser Jr. and Michael Andretti, they've won more than half of the IndyCar road races in the 90s.
There is no doubt they have been the two star names, second-generation names, to dominate IndyCar racing, and the Robbie Gordons of this world are now coming up. And look at the traffic jam here. Was that Mario that moved over? Or was that Nigel? I believe it was Nigel that moved over and let Michael get on his way.
An interesting piece of racing courtesy from Nigel Mansell to move over for Michael Andretti, given the perception on the part of some people that Michael may have nudged Mansell earlier and helped to create the problem with Mansell's rear left.
Well, I think Nigel was a perfect English gentleman to move over and allow Michael to go through. However, that has put Nigel down by 1 lap now, so I'm surprised he didn't maybe give him a bigger fight.
Maybe a mark of what Nigel thinks of his car and its chance for real contention today.
So here's the Reynard chassis with the anhedral front wing, very distinctive style. Debut win. They won in their very first debut event for IndyCar racing, a phenomenal record. Can Michael make it 2 wins for Reynard?
He's got a 15.5-second lead over Bobby Rahal to this point, almost halfway through the race. Emerson Fittipaldi third, and we'll be back. We bring you back live to Exhibition Place in Toronto. There's a look at Robbie Gordon in car number 9, the pole sitter at the beginning of the day, man who dominated the first 10 laps of the race before going out with a shredded tire and falling a lap down. As we bring you back, the leader remains Michael Andretti, now with a 16-second margin over Bobby Rahal. Andretti in the car at the back of the pack right there, moving toward the middle of your screen, has been moving effectively through slower traffic during the time when we were away in New York and continues to hold his lead in the race. And now for an update from the pits, we go to Jan Bikas.
Well, Stefan Johansson was one of those drivers who did not do well during that first series of pit stops. He came in early, and then they had a problem fueling the car. He went from 4th place back to 7th. Now, Adrian Fernandez waited like Rahal did till the very end. He came in. The Gallus crew made a very quick stop. He actually went from 7th up to 4th. Everything's happening here in the pits and not on the track.
All right, Jan, and part of the import of that Adrian Fernandez move, as you look at leader Michael Andretti, is a strong day for the Reynard chassis, Derek Daly, the chassis being driven by both Fernandez and Michael Andretti.
Very good day for the Reynard cars here on the streets of Toronto. Michael now embroiled in a traffic jam. That is Scott Sharp right ahead of him, Raoul Boesel about to go a lap down, and Willie T. Ribbs is the lead group in this traffic, the lead driver in this traffic jam. Michael well in control, still has the fastest lap at a 59.4. It is now still 0.4 of a second quicker than any other driver on the racetrack. So Michael in control.
Looking for his second win of the year. The first came at the first race in the IndyCar World Series down in Queensland, Australia, in a town called Surfers Paradise. Robbie Gordon was the man who dominated qualifying here and was given a chance by many to get his first IndyCar win. Now we visit in his car.
Running all the way back in 18th place gives us a chance to pop up our 4 telemetry. Again, real time. Coming, this is exactly what's happening. Gordon's engine and speed as we look over his shoulder. Look at the revs. This is all stop and go, point and squirt stuff in the infield. Now he stretches his legs, 12.8 on the rev counter, 150 on the run before he gets under braking.
25-year-old rising star of IndyCar racing came out of an off-road racing background similar to that which produced Rick Mears. Spent last year working for car owner A.J. Foyt. This year, moved to another team as Foyt picked up another driver, and that's another story this weekend as his driver, Brian Herta, went out with an injury yesterday.
Now watch the blast down the straight. Let's watch his maximum speed and maximum revs. 183, 182 miles an hour before he jumps on the brakes with a maximum revs down the straight of 12,100 revs. Conservative, I would have thought.
Fastest lap today, just over 60 seconds, about 0.6 of a second slower than the fastest lap in the race. That termed, not surprisingly, by Michael Andretti.
So Gordon now, the fastest man all weekend, has to just try and hope he can pick up valuable championship points. But we get to look over his shoulder in what is not the fastest car in the race, and we expected he would be, because Michael Andretti has shown something on Sunday afternoon that he wasn't able to show on Friday or Saturday.
Strong Sunday for Michael Andretti. 57 laps into this 98-lap race with a near 13-second lead for the moment over Bobby Rahal. Rahal wishing and hoping that something will happen to Michael in front of him. We'll be back. Back live in Toronto, you look at the car of Canadian Claude Bourbonnais pulling to the side of the track. A caution on that turn for the moment, no full track caution. And we give you a look at Skydome, from where on August 7, NBC Sports will return you to the city of Toronto to bring you the World Championship of Basketball. Dream Team 2 taking the floor, led by Kevin Johnson, Sean Kemp, Larry Johnson, on a quest to bring home the the gold, I should say, and the World Championship. That's the World Championship of basketball from here in Toronto beginning August 7th. That'll be NBC Sports' next visit Toronto. Today we're here for the IndyCar Grand Prix. And right now we're in the car of second place driver Bobby Rahal.
And Rahal is trying to fend off Emerson Fittipaldi, who last time passed our start-finish line was only 0.6 of a second behind Rahal. Rahal was caught behind Zampedri. That's Willie T. Ribbs in the service merchandise car just ahead of him. He needs to clear Willie T. Ribbs to stay clear of Emerson Fittipaldi. But look how good a run Rahal has had. Started 9th, and he's all the way up to second place. By far his strongest run for Rahal and the Honda engine.
Indianapolis 500 champion in 1986, IndyCar World Series champion in 86 and 87. Since then has become the owner of his own team. Slower traffic now, bunching the leaders up just a bit.
Oh, Rahal needs to have some fairly healthy horses to pull out and pass some of these cars. That's a Ford engine in Willie T. Ribbs, Lola. Rahal much quicker through turn 11. Can he slide? He doesn't get to slide down the inside of Willie T. Ribbs. So Emerson is now right behind Rahal.
And while Rahal is fighting to hold off Emerson Fittipaldi and keep second place for himself, he is falling farther behind Michael Andretti, who has gotten past the slower traffic. Now there goes Bobby into clear air.
And Emerson had hoped to follow Rahal down that inside line, and Willie T blocks it off. So Rahal clears one, and Emerson comes up the inside and doesn't make it. He waves his fist at Willie T.
Fittipaldi furious that Willie T. Ribbs won't give him an avenue to keep chasing Bobby Rahal. Big break for Rahal here as he tries to secure second place.
And Emerson's pit crew are ready for him to make a pit stop, so he may be ready to dive down the pit lane. Here they are, ready and waiting.
And Jan Bikas is there as we follow Emerson Fittipaldi into the pits. Jan.
Emerson Fittipaldi is rounding the corner as we speak. They're now waving him down, and he's going to try and bring it to stop right on the marks, which he does. They were losing a lot of time in traffic, as you guys had talked about. They decided to take this pit window now. The only change that they are going to do is tire pressures. No wing changes. Remember where he is right now. He has to watch his speed on the exit. 13, just a little over 13 seconds for Fittipaldi. Remember the speed on the pit lane. He was coming in awful quick. He looked okay on the way out. We'll have to find out from CART.
And there's a spin there. Car number 22.
Matsushita.
Hiro Matsushita.
So Emerson gets in and gets out, and now Adrian Fernandez again finds himself in a rostrum position if he can hold it. He's running third. Mauricio Gugelmin from Brazil is fourth, and Mario Andretti is fifth, and Nigel Mansell continues to be a lap down following leader Michael.
And no full track caution on the Matsushita spin. They are apparently still racing under the green.
Nigel, in fact, is 2 laps down from Michael Andretti. So Nigel not having a good day, and Rahal stretches his legs a little bit and pulls well clear now, obviously of Emerson, but Fernandez is the next man that may come into his mirrors.
5 seconds now between Rahal in second place and Adrian Fernandez in third. 22 seconds between Michael Andretti and Bobby Rahal. That is almost half a lap of distance between Michael Andretti and Bobby Rahal.
And Michael did more than 3,000 miles of winter testing, and Matsushita is still there in a very precarious position. But Michael, over 3,000 miles of testing, and it paid off handsomely in Australia. Then they lost their way, and they're right back on track again with the Target Scotch Video Reynard.
One question facing Emerson Fittipaldi: will he have to pit one more time? 35 laps still to go between here and the finish. That's very close to the limit. Jan Bikas, what's the answer to that question?
The answer is from the Penske pit that Emerson Fittipaldi will not be back. That was his final stop.
So Emerson Fittipaldi will be running very low with fuel when we get close to the end of the race.
And we got a good shot of Michael there, underpowered, exiting with oversteer. Beginning to get a loose rear end on this car. He can handle it as long as the rear tires do not begin to wear out too much on him.
Michael Andretti cruising with a near 22-second lead, 2/3 of the way through this Toronto IndyCar Grand Prix. Bobby Rahal second and clinging. We'll be back. Back live at the Toronto IndyCar Grand Prix. Arrivederci Mario, the unofficial title of this year in IndyCar racing, as Mario Andretti makes his final farewell from this segment of automobile racing. But it is his son, Michael Andretti, who's the central story today. Leading over that man, Bobby Rahal, 2/3 of the way through this race. Adrian Fernandez of Mexico in 3rd place. Mauricio Gugelmin of Brazil in 4th place. Mario Andretti, for the moment, is running in 5th, and no doubt hoping in his heart that well up ahead his son can hold on to the lead and win the race. Stefan Johansson, another Formula One veteran like Mario, like Michael, up there in 6th place.
What a great run, Jim, for Adrian Fernandez, a young kid from Mexico, driving for Rick Gallas, sponsored by Tecate Beer. Lots of Mexican backing, very big name in Mexico, and lost his way after Australia just a little bit, but having a tremendous run this afternoon.
His car owner, Rick Gallas, twice won this race with Al Unser Jr. in 1988 and 1990.
And Fernandez embroiled in a traffic jam here. Now that's Paul Tracy behind him, one of the quicker Penske's. Tracy is running in 17th place, so out of contention. Fernandez has only made 1 pit stop. Emerson is the only member of the leading group that has actually made 2 pit stops at the moment.
Fernandez's best ever finish in an IndyCar race, 7th place. He's done that twice for the moment. He is running in 3rd. And another look at Fernandez's car, and there is a look at Paul Tracy, 2 cars behind Fernandez. 30 laps to go out of 98. It totals to close to 175 miles, and we quickly go to Jan Bikas for an update on Nigel Mansell. Jan?
Yes, we have just heard that Nigel Mansell may be here shortly. He feels he has a problem with the car, that he's going to bring it in and actually park it. Nigel Mansell's day may be over.
Tough luck for Nigel Mansell, who held the lead briefly early in the race. And there's a crash involving Fernandez.
And 3rd and 4th places get involved because Mauricio Gugelmin had to spin also in avoidance, and Mike Groff in the Honda car, teammate to Rahal, also gets taken out.
So this will occasion a full track caution, as there are 3 cars splayed across the track there, as you saw. We go back into Bobby Rahal's car. Rahal in 2nd place behind Michael Andretti.
And what a huge break this would be for Bobby Rahal if indeed the full course yellow is thrown. He was scheduled to come in on this lap no matter what. He is in. The servicing is being done. The last stop, they changed tire pressure. That seemed to really help the handling of this Lola powered by the Honda. Remember, this is the old Honda power. This is the first motor that they came up with. Rahal peels out of here.
All right, thank you, Brian Hammonds. Tremendous chance now for Rahal to close some distance on leader Michael Andretti. Should Michael pit too, Derek?
Michael will have to pit, but he's in so much control at the moment. I think if he just gets a good and average pit stop, he will be clearly in the lead. Now here's the traffic jam from inside of Robbie Gordon's car. Gordon locks up the right front. His teammate Willie T is down the inside. It was Willie T who made contact with Fernandez. Here it is. Watch the inside by the wall. Fernandez ducks down inside Ribs. Ribs doesn't give him enough room. Fernandez rides the roller coaster up over the top. Gugelmin also hits Ribs on the other side, so he was attacked from both sides. So 3rd and 4th places suddenly become passengers down at the end of the long back straight.
And part of the import of all that, for the moment, 54-year-old Mario Andretti moves up to 3rd place behind Michael and Rahal.
Great run from Mario as Gugelmin. Fernandez did make it back, but Gugelmin still stationary back at the end of the pit straight.
Jan Bikas, what's the status of the Fernandez car?
Well, Adrian is in pit road right now. We're looking around the car, surveying for damage. There does not appear to be any. They've changed all 4 tires. They've fueled it up. Very routine stop, but obviously he lost a lot of time out there. Looks also like his neighbor here in the pits, Mauricio Gugelmin, will be in soon. There's not too much conversation between these 2 crews right now.
We go on board, meanwhile, with Scott Goodyear. Goodyear has been running in 11th place behind Dominic Dobson, and ahead of him, Jacques Villeneuve of Canada.
And Scott Goodyear is now a free agent. They will not drive together. He will not drive with Kenny Bernstein next year as we go on board again with the telemetry. watching the revs and the speed of Scott Goodyear. Scott has had a new engineer to work with over the last few races, John Dick, who tells me they are on version number 5 of rear suspension and tried a new development front wing this weekend here, trying to get the Scott Goodyear Budweiser car up to speed to run at the front.
Goodyear in 11th, as we mentioned. His teammate Andrea Montermini is all the way up in 5th place, Derek.
Still looking at the telemetry, the slow speed corners. Takes his hand off to change gear, but Fernandez is one that we do want to watch to see, was there any mechanical damage when he made contact with Willie T. Ribbs. But Fernandez goes across the start-finish line, running in now 17th place.
He was 3rd when the accident took place. A terrible break for Adrian Fernandez, who drops back now to 17th. And in the middle of the screen, we visit the car of Michael Andretti, the leader. The Toronto IndyCar Grand Prix will continue after this word and a message from your local stations. Back with 24 laps to go in this 98-lap Toronto IndyCar Grand Prix, and quickly into the pits is Stefan Johansson.
So Stefan, who was running in 2nd place right before he made his pit stop, and Michael Andretti is also down the pit lane, and Jan Beekes is there.
Yes, Stefan Johansson goes by, and here is Michael. He's coming in. He's taking it a bit easy. He's not taking any chances. He knows he has a lot in hand. It's very hot and humid here, so yes, he's going for the drink bottle. We do not... Oh, it came out the air jacks. It fell off the air jacks. This is going to slow down this stop. This will make a big difference. They got it back up. Obviously, they have to keep their composure here. Wait for the fuel. He has to wait for the crew chief now. Boy, this is a long one. Oh, they had fuel problems. Oh, man, a disaster for Michael Andretti. Will he keep the lead?
Andretti exits the pit.
And we said earlier, all he needs is a good average pit stop. Now he just comes out ahead of Bobby Rahal. That was Andretti's car who went through turn 1, and Rahal is now in hot pursuit. I don't know whether they got all the fuel into Michael Andretti's car. Watch what happens here. They take the wheels off, and suddenly the car falls off the jacks. So Michael Andretti goes furious. Watch his gestures as he sits. Yeah, they may have got all the fuel in. Look at this, look at this. Head gestures, let me go, here we go. Jan Beekes is down there.
Yes, and I can tell you that they did get all the fuel. Even with that miscue, Michael is full of fuel, so he will not be back again.
We're back in the car of leader Michael Andretti. For the moment, the margin goes down to under 10 seconds, so Bobby Rahal gets much closer as a result of that botched pit stop on the part of Andretti's crew. But still, Michael, by far the dominant car today, holds the lead with 23 laps to go.
And from here on in, you have to be very careful. Rahal is also a master of knowing how to win races. If he can win a race in the Honda, he would be surprised or even shocked. But we are even surprised to see him have such a good chase of Michael. You may see the gap here. It is under 10 seconds. There's Rahal. Whoa, 2 seconds maybe.
One car between Rahal and Andretti for the moment. That's the car of Matsushita, which is back and running after his spin. No one who saw it will forget Rahal's little piece of gamesmanship in 1986 when he accelerated rapidly off the yellow at Indianapolis to take Kevin Kogan in the closing laps and win the race. May not get a chance for such magic here, but surely it's in the back of his mind.
And changed his life when he made that move, and also changed Kevin Kogan's life. Does Rahal have enough punch to challenge Michael? 3.8 was the last time through. I don't think it's 3.8 now.
Well, here's where we find out exactly what Michael's got in terms of power.
When you smell a possible win, you dig a little bit deeper, but you gotta have something extra in the bag. Does Rahal have something extra in that bag of tricks to challenge Michael? As the laps unfold, the answer will come out.
So for the moment, as you can see, Michael Andretti is nowhere in sight for second place Bobby Rahal. No doubt his pit crew giving him an accurate reading on precisely how big the margin is. It stretches on that lap from 3.84 to 4.25, so it would appear that in clean air, Michael Andretti is able to gain 3 or 4 tenths of a second on Bobby Rahal.
And now the chase will be Emerson to Rahal. Emerson's fastest lap, 59.8. Rahal has not broken out of 60 seconds. So Rahal now may begin to give, or Emerson now may be able to give Rahal a bit of a headache in his chase.
20 laps to go, as you can see. There's a good look at Emerson Fittipaldi in third place and looking to get close to second place, Bobby Rahal. For the moment, fourth place belongs to Johansson. Fifth place belongs to Mario Andretti. There is the leader, Michael Andretti, and there is the margin between Andretti and Bobby Rahal, and there is Emerson Fittipaldi in third place.
We may have a barn burner yet, because the top three are all beginning to close in on one another. Emerson has Rahal in the sandwich. He's thinking championship, but he loves to win.
A battle for the lead between Michael Andretti and Bobby Rahal. A battle for second between Rahal and Emerson Fittipaldi. The others hanging on and watching after 78 of 98 laps. We'll be back. We're back live at the Toronto IndyCar Grand Prix, and riding in the car, pole sitter Robbie Gordon.
Currently running in 7th place, so he has hauled himself all the way from the back of the field after that early puncture. Currently runs 7th, but he does have one more pit stop to make. 185 miles an hour down the long back straight that time. 5th gear, only used 5 gears.
And having been a lap down for most of the race, Robbie has managed to get himself temporarily, Derek, back onto the lead lap. That must change when he takes a pit stop, right?
That probably will change, but yet again, a good run for Robbie Gordon as we watch the Ford telemetry. The revs 12.7, speed 149 on the run to the second gear right-hander. In fact, you can see the speed he goes to the right-hander with 55, 85 on the run. And now 149 miles an hour at the apex of turn 11.
Turn 11, which you identified earlier, Derek, as the #1 testosterone turn in all of IndyCar racing. Doesn't look that dramatic as we go through it, but it's the speed at which they take it that makes it so big.
You need to be in there to experience, because it is what you said and plenty more.
We continue to go around this 11-turn Toronto track. It's called a temporary street course, with pole sitter Robbie Gordon, who was, throughout 2 practice sessions and 2 qualifying sessions, the quickest car on the track.
He's in trouble. Did you see that? He locked up the brakes, got in trouble with his gears, and completely missed the apex on that double right-hander on the infield.
Tremendous work here by Robbie Gordon, 25-year-old future superstar of the sport, if he elects to remain in IndyCar racing. There are some who believe, Derek, that he'll go to NASCAR.
Well, he's been the busiest man in America racing the last 10 weekends. He's been in IndyCar, NASCAR, off-road racing, and now here at Toronto. He was to do the Brickyard 400. He's made a decision not to do that race.
Interesting story. He rode on the plane here with our director, and Steve said to him, "I'm the man who determines whether you get on the air." And Robbie Gordon said to Steve, "No, I'm the one who determines whether I get on the air." Now let's quickly go to Brian Hammonds in the pit.
Carl Hogan, you put the old Honda in the car, but I bet you're surprised to be where you are right now with it.
Yeah, we're a little bit surprised, truthfully, because we're, a little bit down, but evidently the motor's performing very well, and hopefully it'll be reliable to take us to the end, and Bobby's doing a good job with a car that's handling very well. So far the combination's working.
Can you catch Michael Andretti?
Well, I think a lot's going to depend upon traffic. I don't think we can catch him unless we get into traffic, and Bobby's good at passing in traffic, but then Michael's good too, so we'll just have to wait and see.
Bobby's hoping for a traffic jam to try to catch Michael.
And we go back into the car of Bobby Rahal as he looks, Derek, for racing luck.
And he will need luck, because right now Michael is running 0.5 of a second faster than Bobby Rahal. Rahal needs some help. He needs some bad luck to befall Michael Andretti if he is to have a realistic chance of winning, because Michael is in control. He has the speed.
You see that the margin is widening between Andretti and Rahal at the front of the pack. Likewise, the margin between Rahal and third place, Emerson Fittipaldi.
is also getting larger or staying stable at best. So Emerson not a real threat, but Johansson still running fourth. Mario and Paul Tracy hauls himself from the back up into the top 6.
There, number 24 you saw out of the race. Nigel Mansell still looking for an IndyCar circuit win this year, while some suspect that he will go back to Formula One next year. Also out early, IndyCar points leader Al Unser Jr. So whoever wins this race, the point standings will tighten considerably as the result of today's action.
And Al Unser Jr., when we interviewed him, all he thought about was the points race, not just the win, the points race. That's what you work hardest for all the way through the season. But Al Jr. will be back to challenge another day.
Unser Jr. out on the second lap here on a race course he likes, in a race he thought he would have an excellent chance to win. We are live with 13 laps to go in this Toronto IndyCar Grand Prix, 9th of the 16 races that lead to the IndyCar World Series Championship. Let's go to pit reporter Jan Beekes with a word on Michael Andretti.
Yes, we talked earlier, Derek mentioned about Mo Nunn, the engineer that has come here and made such a big difference. He's only been here 11 days, and look what Michael Andretti is doing. But he doesn't want to take all the credit. He says, I looked through all their notes, and I found a place where they lost their way. All I did was help them get back in the direction they should be going. Also, keep in mind the Reynard chassis are all running well. That's because these teams share that information that Mo has brought.
Michael did admit at dinner last night that it was a mistake not to have Mo Nunn remain with his team all through the season.
And as you go around the track with leader Michael Andretti, imagine yourself 7.3 seconds ahead of Bobby Rahal with a dozen laps to go. That's where it's at, the Toronto IndyCar Grand Prix. In the car of second place, Bobby Rahal, 10 laps to go in the IndyCar Grand Prix of Toronto. Michael Andretti still with the lead, 8.11 seconds in front. Emerson Fittipaldi, though, beginning to move up on Bobby Rahal's rear wing, Derek. Coming up next, JAL Big Apple Classic from the Waikago Country Club in New Rochelle, New York. At the start of the day, Beth Daniel had a 3-shot lead when last we checked. She was still nursing a 3-shot lead in the 4th and final round of that tournament. Going through the track now, this 11-turn course with Rahal as he tries to bite off Fittipaldi and hold on to second place.
And Emerson is closing. It'll take a while to inch ever closer. You can see only 9 laps left. But Emerson smells and feels that second position on the rostrum, and he'd like to wrench it away from Rahal.
Meanwhile, you were recently riding in the car of pole sitter Robbie Gordon. For more on him, let's go to the pits and Jan Beekes.
Well, Jim, while we were at commercial, he came in and he took on no tires, just fuel. 7.2 seconds for Gordon in here. The Walker pits were very excited. Of course, they're still trying to make up ground.
But as the result of the stop, Jan Beekes, Gordon dropped off the lead lap. So while running in 7th place, he remains 1 lap down behind leader Michael Andretti. 2nd place, Bobby Rahal. 3rd place, Emerson Fittipaldi. 4th place, Mario Andretti. 5th place, Stefan Johansson.
And Stefan Johansson is in trouble. He's just gone by our commentary box here, way off the pace, but Rahal had to back out of the power to avoid Johansson, and Emerson is now less than a second behind Bobby Rahal.
So the active battle with 8 laps to go is the battle for 2nd and 3rd as Rahal tries to hold off Emerson Fittipaldi. Here comes Emo looking for the inside line. Didn't quite get it.
And he's going to have his hands full now with Emerson because that Penske is very good, particularly under braking. Rahal believes his Lola handles exceptionally well. It may be a battle between Ilmore and Honda.
And what's at stake here for Emerson? A critical 2 points. He's the man who came in 2nd place in the point standings behind his teammate Al Unser Jr. Every point he gains today is a point picked up on Al Jr. because while going out on the 2nd lap, Unser lost any chance of picking up points today. So Emerson Fittipaldi looking for 2 more points if he can get past Rahal. 2 more critical points in his battle with Al Jr. for the IndyCar Championship.
But he's not known, Emerson is not known to make brave moves, so he'll have to be very sure of his chances of passing if he makes a lunge at Rahal.
7 laps to go, and we'll bring you back to the conclusion of this battle at Toronto when we return to Exhibition Place for the closing moments of this Toronto IndyCar Grand Prix right after these messages. Battle for position as Paul Tracy goes around Robbie Gordon and moves into 5th place. possibly picking up more points for the Penske team. Gordon doing all he could for a couple of laps there, Derek, to hold off Paul Tracy, but didn't have enough car.
And Tracy absolutely hounded Robbie Gordon and suddenly forced him into a mistake. Gordon locks up the rear brakes. Watch it here. Rear brakes locks up, gets out of control. Tracy goes down the inside, takes the apex. Arrivederci, Gordon.
The two hottest 25-year-olds in IndyCar racing. Paul Tracy, 25 years old from West Hill, Ontario. Robbie Gordon, 25 from Orange, California. And there's a chart on Tracy. Started 5th, was all the way back on 24th place after 23 laps, and now has made it all the way back up to number 5. An update on Robbie Gordon from Jan Bikus.
That's right, gentlemen. Keep in mind that I mentioned his pit stop. He did not change tires. That's why he could not hold off Paul Tracy. Those tires were shot for Gordon.
Good observation, Jan Bikus. We take another look at the leader, Michael Andretti, as Andretti cruises toward his second title of the year, now with a margin of nearly 11 seconds over Bobby Rahal. And with an update on 3rd place, Emerson Fittipaldi. Let's go to Brian Hammonds.
Well, I told you earlier that Emeril was not going to make any bonsai moves trying to improve his position, but with 15 laps to go, he went full rich on the fuel mixture. He's gassing it. That's why he's right behind Bobby Rahal right now.
A little more than 3 laps to go now for Rahal and Fittipaldi. A little bit less than 3 laps to go for the leader, Michael Andretti.
So Michael now just has to behave himself, particularly passing traffic. There's the 2nd and 3rd battle. Rahal again stretches and puts a bit of daylight between himself and Emerson. I don't think Emerson will make that risky move that we saw Tracy just pull off, trying to get by Rahal because of the championship, as then Pedri pulls Dale Coyne's car off the road.
Crowd of 65,000 plus, many of them perhaps thinking of the possibility of a sentimental moment if something should happen to Rahal or Fittipaldi, because if that were to be the case, then Mario Andretti would move up to 3rd and would get to stand on the podium with his son Michael.
Exactly the same as what happened down in Australia. What a moment it was for Mario. I doubt if it will happen here unless something very serious happens to Rahal or to Emerson, but Michael is in overdrive.
2 laps to go now for Michael Andretti. Dramatic return to IndyCar racing from his year in Formula One with a season-opening victory in Australia. But since then, 7 races of frustration, no more victories, and a constant mystery in his mind as to why he couldn't get the Ford Reynard to behave the way he wanted it to behave. This weekend, everything falling into place.
It is, and Emerson closes up again on Rahal, particularly in that braking zone. We saw Michael coming up to put another lap on his dad Mario, so Michael would have lapped all the way up to 4th place, but Rahal still has his hands full trying to hold off Emerson.
A little bit more than 1 lap to go now for Michael Andretti. There's the white flag, 1 lap to go. So Michael Andretti's in his last lap, needing to hold on for his 2nd IndyCar victory of the year, and his 4th in his last 5 starts on this particular race course.
And all the directors of the Reynard Racing Car Company from Bicester in England are here to watch Michael Andretti. Adrian Reynard is here, Rick Gorn is here, Malcolm Ostler, the designer of the car, is here, and Paul Owens, who helps engineer Jimmy Vasser. He's also here. There's Mario, securely in 4th place.
7 of the 8 IndyCar races on the circuit coming in here had been won by Roger Penske-owned cars. The only variance, that season-opening win for Michael Andretti in Australia. So now Michael will become only the 2nd car to win a race this year, other than a Penske car. Actually, it's the same car. He'll have won 2.
And Zampedri causes a local yellow, but it doesn't make any difference for Michael because he's on his way.
Checkered flag coming for Michael Andretti, and he's got it. Now will Rahal hold off Fittipaldi for 2nd place? He does. So Rahal is 2nd, Fittipaldi is 3rd. There they are on the screen. Michael Andretti has career win number 29, tied for 5th on the all-time IndyCar win list with the great Rick Mears. You can call him the great Michael Andretti. We'll be back.
Court Special has been brought to you by the all-new Ford Mustang. It is what it was, and more. By Valvoline Motor Oil. People who know use Valvoline. By Budweiser, Beechwood aged for a crisp, clean, classic taste. And by Thompson's Water Seal Waterproofer, the brand to trust for all your waterproofing needs.
Back on the shores of Lake Ontario, where Michael Andretti has wrapped up victory in the Toronto IndyCar Grand Prix. Bobby Rahal second, Emerson Fittipaldi third, Mario Andretti fourth, and the 400th start of his historic IndyCar career. Paul Tracy fifth, and Robbie Gordon is sixth. Those are unofficial results for the moment. And you look at the rest of the top 12, Montermini, Fabi, Villeneuve, Goodyear, Dominic Dobson, and Raul Boesel. Again, unofficial. We'll take you all the way through the field, all 31 cars. Fernandez, Johansson, Greco, Sharp, Zanpedri, and Matsushita. Bentley, Graf, Bourbonnais, Gugelman, Nigel Mansell, who held the lead early in the race, but then couldn't compete after shredding a tire. Willie T. Ribbs, Jimmy Vasser, Scattarella in his very first start, Parker Johnstone, Jeff Wood, Al Unser Jr., who went out with a fire on the second lap, Mark Smith, and Ari Leyendijk. Those the unofficial results, and our Brian Hammonds is with the winner, Michael Andretti. Brian?
Michael Andretti accepting the congratulations of Morris Nunn. And Michael, I would imagine it seems like forever since Australia.
It really does, I'll tell you, and gotta give a little credit to the engineers. Mo Nunn, who joined the team last race, and Julian Roberts. The combination really seems to work out. They gave me a great car all weekend, and that's why we're here.
Congratulations, great day.
Thanks a lot.
Michael Andretti, the winner here in Toronto. Jim?
All right, let's quickly take a look at point standings to this point. 9 races into the 16-race IndyCar season. Leaving here, Al Unser Jr.'s lead shrinks to 27 points over teammate Emerson Fittipaldi. Michael Andretti moves into 3rd place with 80 points, then Robbie Gordon, Paul Tracy, and Nigel Mansell. Let's go to Jan Bikus, who's with Bobby Rahal, the runner-up.
Bobby Rahal, your best finish of the season. You went back to last year's engine, but boy, that didn't hurt you today, did it?
No, this engine's done as good. Milwaukee, this was the engine. You know, I think it's, I think the characteristics on the engine fit the tires today. You know, you really had to be careful with the tires, and, you know, everybody had a lot of wheel spin, and we really made a good change at the end, and the car really hooked up, and I could run with Michael for a while, but boy, he was hooked, and, you know, it was, we got caught up in traffic by Emerson, but we were able to pull away, so, hey, we're just thrilled. You know, it ain't a win, but it's damn close.
Thanks, Bobby.
Thank you.
Jim?
All right, thanks, Jan. Derek Daly, a couple of dominant editorial themes, the reemergence of Andretti and Rahal, and also the failure of the Penske team to dominate mean a new season from here on in?
It really does, and I think today was an example that there is no magic to being successful in racing. You just have to cover all the basics. Chip Ganassi's team covered all the basics this afternoon, and then you get success.
A spectacular racing effort by Michael Andretti. I'd like to thank 100 people who made my return to IndyCar racing after a 7-year absence entirely enjoyable. Now for Derek Daly, Brian Hammonds, and Jan Bikus, I'm Jim Lampley. Thanks very much for being with us from Toronto, where Michael Andretti was the winner.